to the organizers, both from the Netherlands and Serbia. I'm really glad to be part of this event. And also thanks to my colleague Aleksandra Terzic, who told me about the symposium. So Aleksandra, connecting people, thank you once again. First, let's, as theorists would say, coming into terms. So, Grand Tour. My topic deals with Oriental Grand Tour of the first modern king of Serbia, King Milan Obrenović. The notion of a Grand Tour, it is the established term for a journey undertaken usually by members of young aristocratic circles or members of intellectual elite, and from the 17th to the 19th centuries they would usually embark on a journey for the purpose of acquainting with the largest cultural achievements of the old continents. It usually involved knowing famous works of arts, museums, galleries, or monuments in situ, meaning major archaeological sites such as Pompeii or Herculaneum or Acropolis. It was usually Greco-Roman world, but since we are talking about Orient, this is the interesting example of Lord Byron, of course, as a paradigmatic example of a traveler, world traveler. Here we see him dressed in a traditional Albanian costume, and on the left contemplating over the Roman Colosseum. In terms of Orient, this is an interesting image of Julien Viau, a famous traveler, writer, better known to the general public as Pierre Loti. For him, Orient was a sort of a refuge, because at that time, in the 19th century, Europe was undergoing through major and fast radical transformations, given the fact that you had a steam engine which transformed both transport and industry. Everything became more accessible, let's say, to put it that way. It was the time of steamships, of trains. We all heard about Orient Express. It was called Magic Carpet to the East. It embarked on its first journey in 1883. And in this respect, the East, the Orient, gave the Western man a sort of a vision of a world which was static, which was mysterious, but also exciting. The example of Pierre Loti is interesting in this respect. He chose Istanbul as his refuge, as his haven. There is even a part in Istanbul named in his honor. He was even declared an honorary citizen. His friend, Božidar Karađorđević, we see him in the Turkish room in Rochefort on the Atlantic coast. This was the home of Pierre Loti as well. We see him dressed in that fashion, Oriental fashion, but he was inspired mostly by, he was interested in India, in mysterious India, culturally diverse India, and he left a travelogue about India. I dare say that it is a travelogue whose importance trespass local boundaries. It is important on a global level, I would say, and pretty unfamiliar. Moving on to the way how Orient shaped the perception of the interior. We have interior here on this slide, the Oriental room in the Peleš Castle in Romania, near the city of Sinaia. It was visited by Queen Natalie, wife of King Milan. And another example is the Oriental room, or the Turkish room of Crown Prince Rudolf, the son of Emperor Franz Joseph. King Milan had the opportunity to see this room, and we can say that it may have inspired him to form a similar space within the Belgrade court, the space which is called as the Arabian Room, because in various palaces in Europe, you had a special premise or room designated as Oriental, designated as whether as a Turkish room or a Moorish room or a Persian room, Arabian room, etc. So it was en vogue. It was a sort of a fashion of the time. Let me say a few words, of course, about the king himself. Milan Obrenović was the first modern king of Serbia, as I said. He was born in 1854 in Iași, in Romania. During his rule, Serbia gained full independence, which was confirmed at the Berlin Peace Congress in 1878. He was also notable for many of his reforms, including introducing new institutions, modernizing army. He also, during his rule, Serbia was once again proclaimed kingdom in 1882. It was the first time since the medieval period. Alexander mentioned Nemanjić dynasty. Nemanjić are considered as the golden age of Serbian monarchy. However, in his personal life, he was a sort of a tragic figure. He led a pretty turbulent life. In 1888, he divorced for his wife, Queen Natalie, or Natalia in Serbian. And only 1 year later, he made a pretty daring move, especially in the Balkan context. He abdicated in favor of his minor son. We see him on the right. It's King Alexander Obrenović, the last member of the Obrenović family. A year later, so in 1889, he embarked on that Oriental tour, Oriental journey. It was a sort of a way out, both way out from turbulent, stressful political life and a sort of a spiritual renewal. His quest for God. He wanted to be present, to attend Easter service in Jerusalem at the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. And there, according to the testimonies of his contemporaries, there he received a sort of a spiritual transformation. So his itinerary, here we will see, he started from Istanbul, visited Troja, Smyrna, Ephes, Rhodos Island, Cyprus, Limassol, the city of Limassol, then Beirut in Lebanon, Jaffa, which was the main port for all the pilgrims coming to Jerusalem, and then deep into the Ottoman state, to Syria, Damascus. His sojourn in Istanbul was very interesting. He met, of course, with the Sultan Abdul Hamid II and visited the main tourist attractions, including Imperial Palace Dolmabahce, then also traveled through Bosphorus, Strait Bosphorus, then visited Suleymaniye Mosque, a really famous jewel of architectural heritage, and most importantly, he visited Bezistan. It was a sort of a hub of many shops famous for luxury products such as carpets, such as silverware, etc. And a lot of these shopkeepers wanted the attention of the Serbian king. He wanted to remain unknown. He wanted to be incognito during that journey, but everybody knew that's the king of Serbistan, as they would say in Turkey, Serbistan for Serbia. Also, I would like to mention that King Milan was a famous collector. Perhaps he is among the first crowned heads who had in his collection pieces of Impressionist and Modernist painters, even in the time where they were not yet famous. So he personally knew, for example, Toulouse-Lautrec, but he was keen in collecting both Oriental items and pieces of Western painting. This is his aide-de-camp, or his follower, Mihailo Rašić, who wrote really an interesting travelogue, Na istoku sa kraljem Milanom, meaning through the east with His Majesty King Milan of Serbia. And there you can find many details related to this journey. The sites they visited, customs, typology of peoples they encounter, etc. This journey, especially the stop they made in Istanbul, is interesting in one more respect. Here you can see a carpet or kilim from the city of Pirot in southern Serbia, southeastern Serbia to be more precise, near the Stara Planina mountain. And this colonel Rašić, he purchased one kilim in Istanbul in one of the bazaars. And what's interesting that he took that sample, that kilim as a sample, and he then brought it to Pirot, where famous Serbian weavers then multiplied. It became a famous motif known as Rašić motif or Rašić pattern, named after this general, later to be general. So it shows how this journey also enabled a sort of a cultural transfer from Middle East to Serbia. This is King Milan in Syria with his entourage in front of a tent. What's interesting in Syria is that it was a sort of his vision of luxury that he wanted to incorporate into the Serbian, more precisely into Belgrade court. So more precisely, he was impressed by the way how the people of Damascus decorated their homes. They were afraid of, as Aristotle would say, horror vacui, meaning empty space. Their houses were full of many details, full of kilims, full of all kinds of items of applied art. So he didn't just buy carpets, kilims, but many, many other accessories, items, including small ones, which you will see. For example, this was the Ajami wooden paneling. It was famous as an exclusive art related to Damascus and Syria. It was really intricate, meaning that a master woodmaker, it was necessary for him to know many techniques, including calligraphy, painting, wood carving, inlay with mother of pearls. And this was the example of King Milan's Damascene Ajami, so-called Ajami interior, which he purchased and which he brought to Serbia, to Belgrade. It usually gave information not just about the technique, but also about the education profile of the owner and his religious adherence. For example, here we can see calligraphic inscriptions a sequence of the 4th to 7th of the Allah's names. According to Islam, Allah has 99 names. The 100th one is a secret one. It's not accessible to man, to man's knowledge. Then you also have the motive of a bowl with fruit and urban landscapes, and it is imported in a way from European tradition, from European artistic styles. What he liked mostly about Syria is that there he recognized a sort of an authentic Oriental art, which was not tainted or not, let's say, which was pure in its form. It wasn't a fusion like in Istanbul of Rococo elements, Baroque elements, and Oriental elements. Syria, and as you went deeper into the Ottoman Empire back then, it gave that kind of perception of pure Oriental art, if we can say in this black and white terms, because even Turkish cuisine is not just Turkish cuisine or Serbian. It is a mix of many elements, including Byzantine, Arab, Arabian, Persian, etc. So this is the King Milan's Arabian room in its full splendor. So visitors who had the chance to see it described it as a fairy tale room from the tales 1001 stories. Yeah. Famous British journalist Herbert Vivian, he compared this space as a vision of purple and gold. I don't know how much time I have.
5 minutes.
5 minutes. Okay, then I can read it because it's very interesting. I quote, after this, what a contrast on entering the Persian room. He called it Persian room, but actually it is Arabian room. It's interchangeable term. The last remains of the magnificent collections of which King Milan made during his travels, and most of which he took away on the occasion of the last of his quarrels with his family. It is indeed a vision of purple and gold, marvelous brocades, soothing silks, fantastic Poitiers of heavy gold lace, cunningly embroidered chibuks and nargiles, divans and poufs, 6 of the latter arranged like the dots on a domino, Oriental bowls, carved gourds, and mysterious tom-toms. The eye is dazzled by the wealth of color and the imagination fired by the variety of the curious workmanship. On the walls, upon the richest draperies, are suspended wonderful silver arms, flintlocks, yatagans, and jeweled sabers, besides lacquered harness of precious metals, such as Miloš and Pop Luka took from the Turks. On an inlaid table in the center of the room is a strange old vase with a sponge growing out of the center. There is a priceless chimney piece of white marble, and near the window are 2 beautiful basins, also white marble, taken from the old Turkish fountain in the Aladdin-like garden of the Konak in Niš. Niš is mentioned. King Milan had his Konak, or palace, in Niš. Unfortunately, it was burned. Yeah, it was demolished during the First World War. On its place now is Hotel Ambassador. So it's in the very...
That place is the mayor house and Hotel Park.
Oh, sorry, Hotel Park. Yeah, sorry, I mixed, yeah. Okay. Bećir Bey is Konak, yeah, that's right. Thank you. Unfortunately, in 1903, there was a coup d'etat known as Majski Prevrat, which claimed the lives of King Alexander and Queen Draga, which were the last, as I mentioned, the last members of the Obrenović family. And as it usually goes in history, the status of the deposed ruler usually reflects on its legacy, on its material heritage. So the bulk of the Obrenović assets, of their heritage, both movable and immovable property was dispersed, destroyed, or either alienated by means of auction sales. The largest of these sales, just before that to mention, this was the palace which housed the Arabian Room. It was demolished in 1904. Nowadays it is a park in the very center of Belgrade, between the residence of the president and between the assembly, the city assembly of Belgrade. And the content of its palace ended up as auction lots. The largest auction was this one in Dorotheum in Vienna. In 1905, you can see the title denoting that it was the legacy of König Milan and Alexander, so the last two kings and the only kings of the Obrenović dynasty. Hungarian Count Jan Palfi purchased the elements of the Arabian Room. The one you saw, Ajami wooden paneling. So now it is housed in Slovakia, in Bojnice Castle. It was one of his castles. Jan Palfi was a famous collector as well, one of the richest in the 19th century. And this is the contemporary photograph. I made it in 2023. So a tragic story, but at the same time, perhaps the value of such items, of such objects, is discovered only by means of losing it. Only when we lose something, we are aware of its full significance. Thank you for your attention.